Hi, welcome to CMMC Automation. On this channel, we share with you tips on how to automate your CMMC compliance efforts using ChatGPT to save your company considerable time and resources. My name is Derek Phillips. I am the president and founder of Aspire Cyber. We specialize in helping small defense contractors prepare for their CMMC assessments. Also, I am a certified CMMC assessor and instructor. Let's get to the content.
In this video, I'm going to show you how to automate the awareness and training domain for CMMC Level 2 assessment. If you watched my previous video, I showed you how to automate the access control domain. But in the awareness and training domain, it should be pretty straightforward. We have 3 practices and 9 assessment objectives. So let's jump into it. The CMMC assessment guide essentially is your Bible when it comes to CMMC. This is what the assessors are going to use to validate that you have all of the CMMC Level 2 practices fully implemented. For the awareness and training domain, there are 3 practices and 9 assessment objectives. Let's take a look at the awareness and training practices and assessment objectives. Awareness and training is all about ensuring that your employees, contractors, anyone who has access to process, transmit, or store the CUI or even create that CUI, you want to ensure that they're properly trained on cybersecurity best practices so they know how to respond to, for example, phishing emails or any attempts for an unauthorized persons to access that CUI. You want to make sure that they know what to do, how to respond, how to mitigate those threats, because again, it's your responsibility as that organization seeking certification to ensure that the CUI is only accessed by authorized persons, people that have a need to know. So that awareness and training is really going to be critical for your team members to operate efficiently, confidentially, and with integrity. Often in organizations, people are going to be the weakest link. That's who the hackers are going to be targeting, because they know that just people typically, they're not well trained on cybersecurity best practices, and oftentimes they'll fall victim to phishing emails or other attempts to allow unauthorized people. You want to ensure that you want to ensure that the people in your organization are well trained, and that's what the awareness and training domain is going to help you implement. So now that we are in ChatGPT, this is an existing conversation that I use to show you how to automate the access control domain. Make sure you check out that video. It is really thorough, walks through all of the access control practices and assessment objectives. So we're going to continue on using this same conversation. And remember that ChatGPT, it'll remember all of the previously entered information for that conversation until you delete it. And for this 14-part series that I'm doing for CMMC Level 2 practices, I'm going to use the same conversation for all 14 practices. So as always, we start at the practice, and I'm going to ask ChatGPT, okay, how do we satisfy this practice for AT L2 3.2.1, role-based awareness? So now I've given ChatGPT the context for the practice. How do I satisfy the practice? So ChatGPT is telling me, all right, to satisfy this practice, we need to develop and implement awareness and training program, communicate policies and standards, regularly review the security and training program, and conduct periodic assessments. Okay, that's a good start. Definitely giving me a starting point. And I want to emphasize that when I use the word automate for ChatGPT, automating any of the CMMC practices and assessment objectives, that really is a starting point. It is not the only resource that you're going to use to satisfy all of the CMMC level 2 requirements, but it definitely is a great starting point, and it can automate a lot of your efforts and activities, but it's not the magic bullet and it's not autopilot. So I do want to emphasize that it is really just a good starting point, a tool for you to get started, especially for level 2. You want to consult a professional, someone that has expertise in CMMC, because there are so many nuances. So as you can do as much work on the front end that you can do on your own. And we're using ChatGPT and other resources, and again, that CMMC assessment guide. But at some point, you will need to consult an expert to ensure that you did interpret the requirements properly, that ChatGPT gave you good information, good guidance. But if you have a limited budget, then yeah, you can do as much work on the front end as possible to limit the billable hours that you're going to have to pay a consultant. So that really is my goal with helping you all leverage ChatGPT to automate your efforts. It's giving you that starting point and helping you do as much work on your own as possible to limit the amount of money you have to pay a consultant. But ChatGPT does not replace an CMMC expert. It is just a supplement, just another resource. Now that ChatGPT has given me an overview on how to satisfy this awareness and training practice, I want to dig a little deeper, get some more guidance from ChatGPT, get more specific guidance from ChatGPT. So I'm going to ask ChatGPT to recommend solutions and give examples how I can satisfy CMMC AT .L2-3.2.1. Let's see what we get. Okay, so emphasizing again security and awareness training, phishing simulation, password management. So it's kind of giving me more details on as far as what the training that I create should include. Now that we have addressed the practice, I want to ensure that the guidance ChatGPT is giving me is incorporating the requirements for the assessment objectives. Remember, that's what the assessors are going to use to validate that you have all of the practices fully implemented, that they are met. So we want to ensure that we give ChatGPT context on the assessment objectives in addition to the CMMC practices. So the first objective we have for this practice is we have security risks associated with organizations involving CUI are identified. So we want training specific to CUI, identifying the CUI and the related risks. All right, so it's telling me how to satisfy it. We'll conduct a risk assessment, risk plan. All right, this response is an example of where potentially I didn't provide ChatGPT with enough context or the appropriate prompt to give me the information that I'm looking for, because it's more so just telling me how to perform more so risk assessments, and I'm looking for training. I need specific role-based training guidance. I'm going to enter a new prompt asking ChatGPT to suggest role-based awareness training to satisfy the following assessment objectives. And I copy all of the assessment objectives from the practice for AC.L2-3.2.1. Let's see what we get now. It's giving me specific guidance on what to incorporate into my role-based awareness training to satisfy not only the practice, but the assessment objectives. So it's mentioning training about for managers, ensuring we got the policies and procedures and specific job functions identified and tailored. Have those managers, system administrators, and users identified and training for each of those groups. And for this practice, that's what the assessors are going to be looking for. They want to see that your organization has tailored training for the different types of roles within your organization. And managers, system administrators, they should have specific training to their role because they have greater privileges and they have likely access to that CUI. So overall, I'm happy with the guidance that ChatGPT provided for this practice. Again, the awareness and training practice is pretty straightforward. only 3 practices, and 9 assessment objectives. But this gives you an example how you start at the practice level, and sometimes ChatGPT may not provide you the type of guidance you're looking for, and all you have to do is feed it more information, alter the prompts that you're feeding it, the questions that you're asking, and then eventually you'll get the information you're looking for. So sometimes it takes some guidance. That's why I say it's not an autopilot, but it does automate a lot of the things. Think about if you're starting from scratch. If you have no idea what awareness and training is, then instead of having to research several articles, read through a lot of resources that you don't understand, the jargon, the technology, ChatGPT can really give you a good starting point. So since I'm happy with this guidance, we're going to move on to the next practice. The next practice is AT.L2-3.2.2. And keep in mind, I'm copying the practices and assessment objectives directly from the CMMC Level 2 assessment guide. That always wants to be, you always want to use that as your North Star, your Bible. Everything you do related to CMMC, you want to ensure that you're aligned with the assessment guide. Because as I mentioned before, CMMC is open book test, and that is the answer key. So for this practice, we want to ensure that personnel are trained to carry out their assigned information security related duties and responsibilities for protecting critical CUI. All right, so ChatGPT gives us guidance, develop a training plan, provide regular training, track. That's going to be important, tracking your training and completion. You want to ensure that you're tracking who's taking the training, when they completed it. For example, if you have in your policy that employees have to complete onboarding training and then training annually, you want to have those training records to show that employees are indeed completing that awareness training. You also want to reinforce the training through ongoing communication. That's the thing about awareness training. It constantly has to be reinforced, and you want to use different types of trainings, whether you're using live training, you're using software, just a combination of different types of awareness training to ensure that your employees is staying top of mind for them. And another type of popular training is simulation training, where you're doing potential phishing campaigns, but it's controlled and they're not real. That way you can track and see, okay, which employees click on those links, and then that'll help you indicate the employees that need retraining. And also ChatGPT gives us some examples of training topics. And again, we talked about password management, data classification, incident response, etc. So this gives us a good starting point for this practice in terms of what our awareness training needs to include, different examples. And you'll notice there's going to be some overlap for the practices and assessment objectives based on the guidance that ChatGPT is providing us. There will be some overlap. However, you just want to ensure that you're identifying, okay, what's applicable to your organization and implement it. Now that ChatGPT has given us guidance on how to satisfy the practice, we want to ensure that we also get guidance on how to satisfy the specific assessment objectives. So we're going to take that same approach, asking ChatGPT to suggest the role-based training to satisfy the following assessment objectives for this practice. See what we get. All right, so we have to define those roles and duties. We're assigning them, and then make sure we have that adequate training. So I'm gonna go a step further, and since the awareness and training domain is heavily focused on role-based training, ensuring that defense contractors are training their administrators and managers, I'm going to prompt ChatGPT for just more specific guidance around training for those administrators and managers to see what we get. So I say suggest CUI role-based training specifically for managers and administrators. Give examples and recommend solutions. All right, so we have the CUI handling policies and procedures, incident response planning, access control. So these are suggestions on specific areas you want to focus on with the role-based training that you're providing your administrators and managers. And I mentioned earlier about the stimulated phishing campaigns, and then also some software as a service solutions you can have for awareness training. Let's see what ChatGPT can tell us about these types of solutions. So, all right, tells us what the simulating phishing campaigns consist of, And then also tells us about some third-party services, variety of templates, software as a service training. All right, so it kind of tells me what it is and describes it. Let's see if we can get ChatGPT to recommend specific solutions. So say recommend software as a service vendors. Know before, that's what I was hoping they would mention. That's a popular one that a lot of organizations use. I'm not familiar with it, and I think it is pretty good. InfoSec offers some solutions. SANS Institute, Cybery. So this just points out that there are no limitations in terms of you can continue to prompt ChatGPT for more and more information. If you're not satisfied with the information that ChatGPT is providing you, then yeah, just prompt it for more information. I would say the biggest limitation that ChatGPT has is it is trained up to a certain point. So to up to 2021, ChatGPT does not have access to real-time information. So something that happened yesterday or after 2021, ChatGPT doesn't have access to information. However, and that's where you can supplement those limitations by doing internet searches. That's why I keep saying that ChatGPT is a starting point. So you will further your research just using the internet. And then also Bing, which is powered by ChatGPT, it doesn't have that limitation. It does have access to real-time information. You just use multiple resources to get the desired information that you're looking for. Make sure that you're on the right track. And again, ultimately, you're going to have that CMMC expert, ideally someone that's certified in CMMC, whether that's a CMMC assessor and or professional, to validate your work. But ChatGPT will get you started on the right track. I'm satisfied with the feedback that ChatGPT gave me. As a small defense contractor with limited budget, and maybe not, I don't have cybersecurity on staff, that expertise. Certainly, the guidance that ChatGPT has provided me will help me get started. Will help me start rolling out a awareness and training program in my organization. All right, the third and final practice for awareness and training domain is about providing awareness training on recognizing and reporting indicators of insider threats. So that is certainly a top threat that maybe a lot of organizations do not think about, but yeah, you can have an insider threat. Someone who is on the inside and either maliciously or accidentally exposing your CUI to unauthorized persons. So we'll have the security awareness training. We want to define what an insider threat is. Maybe a lot of your employees do not even understand the concept of what an insider threat is. And again, that could be someone who is malicious, who is intentionally trying to expose your organization, whether they're a disgruntled employee, a spy. It can be just a wide range of people that would fall into that category. But also a lot of times those insider threats can just be people who are making mistakes or employees that just a human error because they are poorly trained. And that just emphasizes why awareness training is so important, why ensuring that employees are trained properly on their roles and responsibilities so they don't make those costly mistakes that causes your organization to experience a data breach. It's going to identify the potential indicators of insider threat, explain the importance of reporting insider threats, so make sure that employees feel comfortable knowing that, yeah, if you see something, say something. Better safe than sorry. You don't want employees feeling like, okay, they'll get in trouble if they report some indicators of insider threats or just some unauthorized activities that they witness employees or contractors performing. Yeah, you want to have that culture where, yeah, it's better to say something and then clearly document, okay, what are the reporting procedures? Who do they report this information to? And then also discussing the potential legal consequences for someone who is performing unauthorized activities. Then just continue to reinforce that message, continuous awareness training. So yeah, it's a good starting point that ChatGPT is providing us on how to incorporate insider threat training into our awareness and training program. As you should know by now, we certainly are not going to stop there. We have the practice. We have ChatGPT has provided us guidance on the practice, but now we want to ensure that we also follow up by requesting specific guidance on the assessment objectives. So, okay, we're suggesting role-based awareness training for the following assessment objectives for this practice. Let's give us examples of what should be included in our awareness training for insider threats. Overall, I think it's pretty good. Again, as I said in the beginning of the video, this is pretty straightforward. Only 3 practices for awareness and training and 9 assessment objectives. And we specifically started out with prompting ChatGPT for guidance on the practice and then the assessment objectives. Use various approaches for how you train your employees and contractors for security awareness. Ensure that you're doing role-based security awareness training. Those administrators and managers are getting additional training than just your general users. Ensure that that training is ongoing, continuous, and you're using different resources. So whether that's software as a service awareness training, live training, PowerPoints, you're not limited to what you use, and CMMC Level 2 is not prescriptive to tell you exactly how to perform the training, what tools you need to use, but it's just giving you the parameters, okay, what needs to be included in your awareness training and also who needs to receive that training. As you know, I like to always end these training sessions with just bonus prompts to kind of help give you ideas on ways you can push the limits of ChatGPT so you can really maximize the guidance that ChatGPT provides you. So one prompt that comes to mind, okay, in chart format, list the suggested training topics and solutions. These are the training topics and solutions for insider threat. We can go a step further and request just basically a summary for all of the provided training topics and solutions that ChatGPT has given us for this awareness and training domain. Let's see what we get. Okay, wow, that's cool. So to me, that's automation. You think about, okay, you're starting from scratch and have all this information neatly provided to you through a simple prompt that saves you a lot of time and effort. So it definitely is a great starting point to really start developing your awareness and training program, which is a vital component for your organization to ensure that you're properly securing and handling and transmitting CUI. Let's go a step further and see if ChatGPT can give us some step-by-step guidance on starting to implement this into our awareness and training program. So I'm asking for step-by-step guidance on how to implement the recommendations. Okay, saying first, we need to find our training objectives, conduct training needs assessments, select training solutions, update the training program, regularly review, evaluate the effectiveness. So again, if we wanted to get additional information for any of these recommendations, I would just enter a new prompt requesting ChatGPT to elaborate on any of these recommendations. The last bonus prompt is want to outline a detailed project plan to build the awareness and training program using the suggestions that you provided. All right, here we go. Wow, look at that beauty of automation. Select the training solutions. So just detailing out, okay, these are the exact steps you need to follow. And again, I would just continue to prompt ChatGPT for more information, more guidance based on what it's provided me. So it could just continue, push, so you're to the point of satisfaction. You can say, okay, yes, I have enough information to implement the recommendations. There you have it. I hope you got a lot of value from this video showing you how to use ChatGPT to automate the awareness and training domain for CMMC Level 2. Stay tuned for the next video in this 14-part series, which would be audit and accountability. If you would like to receive the transcript from the ChatGPT conversation that I demonstrated today, feel free to just email me at dphillips@aspirecyber.com. I'll be happy to share that with you. Also, let me know if you have any suggestions on how you would like to see me leverage ChatGPT for any of the CMMC practices. I'd be happy to create that video for you.
Thanks for watching CMMC Automation. I hope that you got a lot of value from today's video and you use ChatGPT to automate your CMMC efforts. It's going to save your company a lot of time and money. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out to me at Aspire Cyber. Also, you can leave your questions in the comments down below. Be sure to subscribe because it helps out this channel immensely. I really appreciate it, and good luck to you on your CMMC journey.